Good morning, everybody. Today is, I believe it's Wednesday, hump day. And I just thought I'd pop on, and I had a special request for actually 3 of these blankets. And I looked up the patterns and everything, and of course I have to be, difficult. I didn't have the proper yarn weight for, what they called for in the pattern. Um, so I don't want to, you know, yarn's not really easily accessible for, our area. So, and I'm just practicing. Anyway, I've never done one of these blankets before where it's the graph-ghans, and I know why, because of that mess. I know you can carry your yarn across, but with this being black and white, if I were to carry this, and to me it just seems like a whole lot of waste of yarn, even though this is a lot of waste too. I don't know. But my whole thing is I don't want, like where this is all solid white here, if I were to run that black yarn from here to over here, like you can see it right here. There's, you know, if I were to run that all the way across, there would be black specks in with the white and vice versa. If I were to run the white across the black, you'd be able to see it. And I don't know, I didn't want it that way. So I am cutting my yarn at every color change. And then I have to go back through and tighten them stitches up. These here will be tightened up. This will be a cleaner edge once I flip it over and start tying in them ends. I have reached, let's see, I'm having to write out the pattern as I go back to the whole pattern thing. I purchased a pattern. I didn't have the proper yarn for it, and the yarn that it calls for is really expensive. And anyway, your girl's on a budget, and since this here is a practice piece, I thought I would go ahead and do it out of number 4 weight, medium weight, or a worsted weight yarn. And I think it's working up pretty good. The yarn that the pattern actually called for was a super bulky, which is like a number 6 weight, which is, pretty thick. But anyhow, I am working it up in regular. The black is Red Heart. The white, I am not entirely sure. There was not a band with it. And I'm thinking that this here one I might be able to get enough out of this to make it a kind of maybe like a security blanket, perhaps. I'm going to do something with it. I'm not going to let it go to waste. Anyway, the print is turning out really cute, I think. And like I said, once I get them loose ends tightened up and sewn in on the back side, it'll tighten all that up. And then the back side, hopefully, fingers crossed, will look just as nice as the front. I'm hoping. I don't think I'm doing too bad, it being my first time. But now I know why it has taken me so long to do this in the first place, because of all them loose ends. Good Lord. I don't know. I have a thought about that too. I'm going to sew them in. I'm not even going to share that idea with you because I'm not throwing that out in the universe just yet. Okay. I had to convert the pattern. Well, yeah, I did have to convert the pattern because the hook size that they were calling for, I have one right here. Hang on, let me stretch over here and grab it so I don't fall off the bed. Oh, all right. The hook size that they were calling for in the pattern, the purchase pattern, was this one here, which is a 9mm hook. All right, since I didn't have that yarn, the heavy yarn, I am using actually this hook here instead, which is a 5.25mm. You can clearly see the difference. You can clearly see that. So the stitches that they were using for this here was a single crochet, which with this size yarn, this hook, the single crochet averages out to be roughly about the same height as my stitch here that I chose. And so in the pattern it called for, I think it was it 80, I think it was 81 stitches, which ended up just after you started, you work your chain and then you skip a stitch and then you work your chain back across. You work back across the chain, which gives you 80 stitches total. Well, I was like, okay, this will be all right. So I started working 80 stitches, not thinking. I wasn't thinking at all. Anyway, it ended up, the sucker was only about as long as my notebook, roughly. So that wasn't going to work at all. So I decided I had to figure this stuff out because now it was a challenge. So I ended up working up, in my brain. Good Lord, I had a headache so bad. But anyway, I figured it out. And this is what I've come up with. And so now I'm having to write everything down. And here's my notes. I write everything down first. This is like a rough draft. And then I work it out. After I write it down, I work it out. It's like I'm testing my own dang pattern. And then I have my notebook here where it's still a rough draft. I mean, because it's really wordy right now. Not wordy, but sorry for my gnarly toe. Anyway, and then I write it down after I work. This way I can keep up with my rows, where I'm at and all that good stuff. But hopefully before long I will get this sucker done. Anyway, I'm sorry. I have worked so far 21 rows, which is not bad, I don't guess. This is what's probably going to take up the most time, because that is going to be tedious. Anyway, but it's coming right along, and I'm writing my pattern and testing my pattern at the same time. I couldn't find any graph paper. I knew I had some somewhere, and I couldn't find any, so I'm finding that this is easier for me to keep track of in my brain, because on the graph paper you work from like this side here. This will be your starting point, and you work this way, and then you have to come up, and then you work back the other way, and it's like left brain, right brain thing. It's like I can never figure out which way I'm going. So I took my graph and I started counting over, but I have to increase because I have to make it bigger or longer, more stitches because this is smaller. Anyway, it's kind of complicated, but not really, but it is to me. But here's my rough draft, and then I take that, and then I work this out. I'm making sure I'm keeping my stitch count. I have a stitch count of 100. I have 100 rows. And I know it's not going to be very wide, but I'm going to do a border around the edges. And this is going to be a cuddle playtime blanket that will be able to be rolled up into a pillow or laid out as a blanket. And then it will have the cow head, arms, or legs, sorry, and then the tail. But anyway, that's the progress I've made so far. So I hope you all have a blessed day, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks for joining me. Give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I know that's I don't know. I'm thinking I'm doing all right so far. Let me know. All right. Hope to hear from you soon. Bye-bye. Peace.